Well, we're back again. We've been conversations always lead to more conversations, and questions always lead to more questions. This is such a rich conversation. So we were talking after we left off in the first video about the ways we bring spiritual care practice into our own discipline, the way we practice in what we do day to day, and many of us in our class are counsellors. And you thought of some good examples of the way spiritual care comes into counselling through ritual. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I was aware that really I allocated it into the pastoral care in a general sense, but also over my time I've done a lot of work in counselling with couples and marriage enrichment and couple support processes. And I used to develop little things with couples. So there was, for example, if the couple was moving from a crisis time into a more rebuilding or enrichment time, I'd have this, I called a little treasure box really, and into which they could put special insights that they got into the relationship in a little message form.
Okay.
And when we would come to a point in within the counselling process where the person says, I'd like to say something really special to you, and there were different ways that they did that. Sometimes it would be a special note of affirmation, sometimes it would be a special note of I really need to say this, it's hard for me to say it, but I really want to communicate it now. Because sometimes when we do that in words, it gets lost. You know, or we try to say it in words, it gets lost. So we use this little message box. So people would write things down and they would put it in, and they each had one, and then they would say, I think I would love you to read this as a gift. And sometimes that gift was a tough one, and sometimes it was a really beautiful, tender one. But we used to pause then, and if they came from a religious framework, I might pause and say, this is a moment that is really sacred, because you're about to get a gift. But it actually just took it to the level of something really significant rather than words that can get lost. And then, so the person would open it and read it, and then make a response or not make a response, but they got to keep it. And over a time, I mean, in parish life, it meant that you would see people over maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years. But if you saw someone over maybe several months, they might have a little pile of these things. So there were insights or challenges. And I think it was the ritual of the specialness of the handing over in the box and the reframing of it as gift. But I'm aware that that's all those, and I'm sure that there's counsellors listening to this that do things like that already. They just need to do more, or be more aware that some people, and often it was great because, you know, when you're talking and people are sharing, you get sick of words for heaven's sake, you know, and the words are just not doing it.
And words can be so impulsive sometimes. They can tumble out, as you just said. And this, the process you've described seems to me to be, in a beautiful way, inviting people to be deeply present to what they're saying to one another. That really holds the significance, and would help you to consider yourself what you want to say, rather than just, in that sense, responding impulsively, perhaps to overwhelming emotion.
I think that's how it worked, and quirky, and that nobody else might do it exactly the same way. That's fine, but each person listening to this again will develop things far more accurately creative or symbolic in their situation, because they're them and the other people are them. So it is co-creating.
Absolutely. And it strikes me again that as you said, many counsellors will already have practices like these that are part of what they're doing, and maybe simply haven't recognised it as ritual yet in that sense. And so another thing that I've gleaned from our conversation today is that if we look differently with an awareness of what ritual is and how it functions as part of our communal life together and the way we journey together, particularly in mutual listening, we can recognise that our lives are in many senses marked by rituals here, there and everywhere that we may not simply have recognised as such.
Yeah, or even maybe our culture sort of rejects it. You know, ritual for some people is a spooky word.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've talked to many people involved in marriage care or marriage counselling, where the renewal of marriage vows has done in a fairly informal way or formal, has been a significant new phase for couples that have been through difficult times. And so that ritual of the renewal of vows is highly significant, but often not really considered in counselling settings.
Yes.
But it's such a logical thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Again, thank you, Alan, and thank you for taking us more intentionally into that sense of how to practice spiritual care as counsellors and as nurses, as you mentioned earlier, and so on. Spiritual care can actually define the way we do whatever we're doing in our daily lives. So thanks again.
All right, you better stop me now.
I better.
No more stories.
We'll let you off.
All right.